There we go. Hello and welcome everyone to this week's mic check. Yes, I'm starting to sound more and more like a friggin' YouTuber when I do that. Today, characters again. Without any further ado, because we're starting like 20 minutes late, we're gonna go ahead and hand the time over to Frankie to start off our cold reads. Frankie, whenever you're ready, go for it.
I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It could be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you've got this. I'll pass it off to Damien.
I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable. At your age or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you got this. Don't be scared.
Pick
Damien,
the
you
next
choose who goes
person.
next. Drop the ball already! Come on!
Brett. All right.
I like the same title.
Thank you. I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you got this. Don't be scared. Then I'll pass it to Kimberly.
Okay. I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed it. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing. If you got this, don't be scared. James?
I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing if you got this. Don't be scared. Roddy.
I'm sorry you have to sit here on ice, feeling miserable at your age or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. Hey, it's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you. Nothing. If you got this, don't be scared. Isaac.
I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you got this. Don't be scared. Let's go with, nope. I don't know who hasn't gone yet, but so just tell me, Jamie, have you gone yet?
Jamie has not gone.
All right, go ahead, Jamie.
I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you got this. Don't be scared. Leonard?
Hey, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable at your age or any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. Look, the people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live with their failure. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing if you got this. Don't be scared. Alexander.
I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing if you got this. Don't be scared. Michael.
I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable, at your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live here. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you got this. Don't be scared. Justin.
I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable at your age or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you got this, don't be scared. And who is left?
Last but not least is Sam.
Go,
Don't gotta
Sam.
lie, Michael. All right. I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable. At your age or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you got this. Don't be scared.
Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about this. I feel like there's going to be quite a bit to get into on this one, but let's start with our basic first question. What kind of microphone technique should we be using? Voiceover or voice under? For those
Actually,
of you who know.
before that, is Dave reading today?
Dave is not. Dave is just listening.
Okay.
in.
Good.
Voice over.
Over.
Yeah, that should be pretty apparent.
Is character.
Yeah, exactly. It's a character script. This is so what voiceover indicates is you being really front and center on the microphone. You being really present and your voice being the main important thing that people listen to. The opposite of that would be voice under. Well, not the opposite, but the alternate technique that you could use is called voice under, where you're a little bit quieter, a little bit more reserved from the mic, and you are trying to get people to pay attention to what's happening in front of them on screen. Oftentimes, voice under is used for things like car commercials and most commercial work, but there's some aspects of it where it could be used as like the thought process of a character in certain situations. Though this is direct dialogue, one person to another, so this is voiceover. You're going to be front and center. Cool. We got that out of the way with. Now let's actually get to the interesting stuff. There's not a whole lot of information that we can tell from this directly, but let's try to glean what we can from it. So, what can you tell about your character, who you are in this, just from the direction and from what they're saying? What do these things tell you about you?
We're some kind of. Oh no, you go. It's okay.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say the character you're voicing is clearly some kind of like mentor or figure of support, even just like an older friend. You're someone with more experience. You're someone trying to, I guess, give support to someone maybe less experienced or in a scared. You're a superior figure, I guess.
Yeah, we're comforting, guiding, and reassuring this other person, using our greater experience in order to do that.
Okay, so some kind of figure of authority.
Yes.
Okay. What else can we
Personal
tell?
authority.
Personal authority?
Yeah. Sorry, that's probably the wrong phrase, but yeah, someone who is more experienced.
Okay.
Well, when you say personal authority, it's like this person is clearly not like just a general figure of authority. They have some emotional connection to what was her name?
Acel?
The other character. Yeah. Acel. Clearly you're sort of like, it's not just some random guy, it's like someone who has emotional stakes. They're emotionally connected. So when you say personal authority, it gives it more the sense that it's not a president talking to, some civilian. It's like, this could be an older brother talking to their sister or a friend or a father or something.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, does anybody else have any other ideas to add to that? Anything maybe to expand on that you're seeing?
Well, in the script itself, it says that it's supposed to be a more sweet and rousing speech. I feel like if since we're showing sympathy, we should also be trying to comfort them as well. Like to comfort somebody, you would have to be closer with this person. more emotionally.
Okay, so that's more of a tone note, which I will go ahead and note down here. So comforting. But again, what I really want to focus on, just for a little bit longer, if anybody has anything, is specifically what can we tell about your character in this script?
I feel like this character didn't expect to be in this position with this person.
Really? Okay.
Like they didn't, like they're trying to comfort, but they're not naturally comforting.
Okay, so this particular like level of authority that they have with this person is entirely unexpected?
Yeah, I would say that, yeah.
Okay.
There's a word for it. There's a certain character type word for it, but I can't think of what it is. I was trying to look it up. Like I don't know if it's like the reserved hero. It's just like they got put into a situation by circumstance. And
I think
now they see this
yeah.
person being miserable and they're like, okay,
Reluctant.
what can I say to help them in this situation, I guess, kind of thing.
I think to add on to what you said, I think it could be like either that's the intent. It's supposed to sort of be like a reluctant, inexperienced comforter, or it's just sort of clumsily written, because there are points where it sort of feels like if you imagine how a parent might console you, you might say something different. So it's either an intentional choice to make the your character's dialogue sound as it does, or it could be tightened up a little bit.
Okay. Where do you see that? Do you see that more like around the first sentence, or in like is there a particular place where that tells you that? Or?
Sorry, can you say that again?
I'm just wondering what's giving you that idea.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. I thought I heard a voice in the background, and I thought they were going to say something. I guess it's not really a specific line of dialogue. It's kind of a feeling. I'd have to look up a little bit deeper.
Okay. Because I think that could be an interesting character choice, but I think something like that specifically would probably depend on the actor. Because
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Alec. Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
Since Isaac mentioned clumsily written, something that really caught me off guard about this, which I wanted to look into, is the second sentence of the first line. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark.
Oh, it's a fragment. Yeah.
That's not a complete sentence. Or at least it changes. I don't remember the grammar word, but tense. It changes from present tense to past tense halfway through the sentence, and that makes it seem like there is no verb. It seems like the character should go on to say, like, you shouldn't have to do this. At your age, waiting for it to get dark, this shouldn't be a situation you're in. But he doesn't. He instead cuts it there. And I think that could be a scene or character moment where he's getting cut off by her giving him a look. She looks you in the eye, her pupils wide, etc. But on first read, if you haven't made a specific decision about that can definitely catch you off guard.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it could have been notated better, I think, if that was the writer's intention. Instead of a period, you could cut it off with what's it called? An ellipses, I think, or
a
hyphen or something. Either of those two.
Yeah, and the whole script feels totally like we're dumped in the middle of the scene, and we don't know how it really came to be, and that's just something we kind of have to imagine or concoct for ourselves and hope it works.
Okay. Well, now
like,
we're starting
why the heck are these people out here on the ice of all places?
Now we're starting to move into more the emotional space that we need to take up, and that is, I think this is a good time to go ahead and start talking about that. So we'll get into like specifics and particular things that need to happen in this script in just a little bit. But let's go ahead and talk about the tone. So we already talked about comforting. That's definitely one of the things that I've got noted down here. What are some of the other sounds? What's some of the emotions that we need to be portraying in this? Based on what you read, based on what you see, and based on the information we have.
This is a somber moment.
Comforting, somber. Okay.
This person is clearly feeling very down because of some situation that led to them sitting alone in the cold, waiting for it to get dark.
Okay.
Not sure if reassuring counts alongside with comforting, but
Yeah,
I just thought
I think a cell here is a bit of an emotional basket case. She may have been bullied or something.
I think it's an interesting note in the "She Looks You in the Eye" segment that it says her eyes are surrounded by a ridiculous amount of makeup, and we know that this person is significantly younger than us in some way. This could be I know I'm getting into the details, but this could be a setup for some very early teenage or tween girl that has set herself up to maybe meet and impress someone who maybe didn't show up or hasn't yet shown up.
Okay.
That definitely impacts the emotion that we're walking into when the scene starts, if that's the decision we make.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's definitely a leap to make based on the information that we've got.
Yeah, I'm feeling like she probably got ridiculed by somebody and she just had to leave the scene and go out and sit in the ice.
I
Okay.
noticed something. I remembered what made me feel like there was a little bit of dissonance in the script. It's that at the last line, not character line, but the last sentence in the scene description, it says, "Give her a rather sweet, rousing speech that helps her feel a lot better about her passion." But the last couple lines seemed like really foreboding. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. And then you're like, oh, nothing if you got this. But it's like that feels really serious. Like that doesn't feel like a rousing speech. It feels kind of bracing almost, like,
Right,
hey,
but
something bad is coming, but don't
so
worry, I guess.
so the main thing that there though is where you place the emphasis. So
You're
you
right.
placed it
Yeah.
on against what's coming for you now, when I think more appropriately it can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now.
I was
Maybe
thrown off.
maybe the impending doom is already known. Let's just call it that, okay? I don't know if that's what it is, but we're just going to call it that. Maybe there's some sort of impending doom that is already known by this person. You are trying to reassure them, right? It says sweet, rousing speech in the direction itself. So if that's the case, then what you want to do is try to instill confidence. Try to let somebody know that they have tools to handle what it is they're facing. So you want to focus on that. You want to focus on dismissing their doubts and their negativity and building up the solutions to their problems or the potential strengths that they have against them. So, for instance, like that sentence says, instead of it can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now, which sounds, of course, sinister. If we swap it around, it can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Emphasize the fact that it's a tool to help to assist in overcoming the challenge. So right now, for specific emotional tones, I've got listed down comforting, somber, reassuring. I don't know if somber really should be one of them. I'm not. I mean, I can be convinced either way. I'm still going to have it noted down, but I'm kind of on the fence about somber. Are there any other? Is there any like more to the emotional space that we should consider with this script?
I don't know if I'm crazy, but I'm thinking kind of like at the end somewhat uplifting, because like he's like in my brain he's trying to like uplift her spirits so she can feel better about what she's getting into.
Right.
Yeah,
The
I
goal is
agree.
to make Estelle feel better. The ultimately the goal is to try to reassure her that there is solutions to the problems. There is like a real way out from the desperation that you might be feeling. So yeah, I agree with that. Anything else?
Yeah, I was gonna say something similar. For me, I thought of it like for me, the whole idea was like this could have been like a father figure, and so for like the last two lines, it could just be them like, hey, I've been through this before, and I've got these tools that I can use for you that'll help you get through it. So they kind of just like play it off, but that confidence is from knowing that they've been through it before, and that could be used, or that might be taken by a cell as like, okay, now I can relax because this person's also been through that.
Well, I like that. You just mentioned something that I think we could really use there. Confident. There's some confidence behind your character, at least towards the end of it, right?
Right.
All right. So the general tone notes that I've got here are comforting, somber, reassuring, uplifting, confident. Sound good to everybody? Anybody have any other thoughts, ideas, anything like that? Any changes?
How about stern? I
Stern.
feel like this is like a teacher pupil situation, and the student and the pupil uh is depressed or in a sad state, and the teacher wants to shake this person out of their sad state, so he has to be you, I feel like this person, the character we're portraying wants to give this girl a jolt to wake her up, to shake her out of her state that she's in, and make her realize that the situation is not as bad as she makes it out to be.
So like the note that you said in chat over here, a little kick in the pants.
Yeah.
I mean, I find it, I would I would assume that stern could be an offshoot of confident. I'll note it down. I'd like to hear that. That's another one that I'm kind of on the fence on, though.
It's fine if you can make it work.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Ultimately, what I want to do here is just get a general idea of the kinds of emotional tones that we should be having in the delivery with this particular script. The specifics, how you get there, are up to you. Yeah, again, that's part of your own branding, that's part of your own marketing, that's part of what makes you an individual voice actor, is how you achieve the goal. But understanding the goal and making it there, that's the most important part. So, I think just on to a few really specific things that I want you all to be careful of is let's see, in the second line, second sentence, it's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. Make sure that this is referring specifically to something. Don't let it just blend into the rest of it. It's easier to live with their failure with this by your side. Like that kind of, it loses the point, because the point is you're referencing something that is in the scene. It is this tape recorder. This right? It's a tape recorder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, tape recorder. Yeah, so you're referencing specifically the tape recorder. Same thing with that, and in the very last sentence, nothing if you got this. So and maybe it's like a second opportunity to try to hand her the tape recorder. So you are using a prop in this particular scene. Another thing that I want you guys to really pay attention to is your place in the scene. Where are you physically? Where is the person that you're talking to? How are you interacting with them specifically? Use the space around you to help emulate that, because again, that's only going to enhance the performance that you give us. It's less important that you choose the right voice itself here, and it's more important that you convince the listener by convincing yourself that you are living in that scene, that you exist there in that moment, that you see this girl and that she's having a hard time and you're doing what you can to try to uplift her. That is ultimately way more important than anything else that you can do in this scene. And I think understanding specifically who we are, we went over that, and specifically the kind of emotions that you're trying to portray will help you ultimately determine that. So just be really clear on that. Before we get into the directed reads, does anybody have any other questions or comments about the script before we continue?
Yeah, on the last line, nothing if you got this. I can totally see going two completely different ways with that. Like, nothing if you got this. Like, if you're in control of the situation, you're fine. Or nothing if you got this, as in nothing as long as you have this tape recorder.
Right.
I think the direction that they're wanting, that at least this is what I think the direction is, that it's the tape recorder. That's the direction that they're going with. But it could also be like both.
It could be just
Depends
the
on
tape.
you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, the tape recorder is kind of just like a tool, but it's mostly up to you to make it happen. You know, that's where I can see where Leonard's getting at. It's not the tape recorder is not the thing giving you a chance to get through this. It's gonna help you.
Okay. I would say that with in the obvious lack of a clearer answer to that right at this very moment, make it work for your character. Whichever way you feel is going to be more comfortable for you to portray, that's the way you should ultimately go with it. Because again, we don't have that information here, and filling in some of the gaps to make it sound more natural and more alive, I think is going to be just really super important. Yeah, we've got some agreement over here in Twitch that the final line is more likely referring to the tape recorder being a weapon, kind of calling back to what was said before. But again, I can also see, since this is trying to be rousing and uplifting, I can see that being, nothing if you got this. Either way, I think it's up to you. However you.
If this were an audition, like you'd submit one take either way, and they'd be like, "Oh, I actually want this," and you'd be like, "Okay, well, at least I submitted both."
If it was an audition, then I would say, yeah, just make a choice on it either way and stick to the choice more than anything else.
Oh, okay.
Versus like giving it one way and then another.
All right.
Oftentimes, one of the best ways to absolutely destroy your chances in an audition is to try to be by the letter on the directions. It's way more important that you just solidly make a choice and stick to it throughout the whole thing.
Okay.
But, we can talk about that a little bit more after the mic check. But
Okay.
depending on how long you can stick around, that is, because we've got quite a group going. And speaking of that, unless somebody has anything else they'd like to add to talking about the script, I think we can go ahead and move on to the directed reads.
Yeah, I'm still a little confused by the conflict that's happening in this script. Is the conflict that this girl, Estelle, she's made her own music, but she went to an audition or something, and now she's bummed out because she can't compete with people that have more advanced tools.
So that specifically is not super clear, but what we can tell, at least from the scene notes up at the top, is that she's feeling insecure about her hobby, about the thing that's really bringing her joy, who in this case is making music, in the face of not having, it says specifically here, in the face of not having the same kind of tools or talents as bigger musicians. So it's more of her fighting against her own self-doubt in comparison to others. That's kind of the conflict that she's going through, at least based on what we have here.
As artists, none of us know what that's like.
Oh yeah, no,
this script isn't
completely
to us
foreign to us
at all.
And when it says it is easier to live in their failure with this by your side, who's the there? I mean, is it there referring to the people that built this world?
Yeah, I think so.
And
Yeah.
okay, so just this sentence doesn't make any sense to me. So she has this tape recorder, and the people that are supposed to make this world better for you, and they fail, and reason they fail is because of this tape. I mean, that part I don't understand.
I think
Yeah.
that's where we have to take what's written as this is all we get, and we have to create a world that allows this scene to fit in that.
Yeah.
And that's where our creative acting decisions are going to come into play. So make a decision about who they are and why they messed up the world, or how they messed up the world for this girl, and allow that to influence our performances.
Yeah, and to me, I mean, it's not even about the other people who built the world. It's more like, hey, the world can be a sucky place. This will help you get through it.
I feel like what's coming for, well, sorry, that's my decision. Never mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, we're going with the context that we have here in the script. We're going with what we've got. I actually, Alexander, you're correct on that. In that, giving that particular sentence enough context, or giving that particular sentence more context, is going to be entirely up to you to choose. It could be literally that this person is living in a digital world, and the only thing that helped them escape from the sad, crushing reality that they are not real is the fact that they could make their own music, but they just have zero confidence in that anymore. I don't know. It's up to you to add context to make that work for you, because we're not given much more in the scene notes and with the dialogue that we have. That's going to be a choice on you. So it could be more existential. It could be less.
I personally kind of envisioned it like world is referring to like industry. She's trying to make music, but everyone has better equipment than her, right? So it's like could be people who built the music industry intended it to be better, but you know, it's kind of crummy and corrupt. You know, but she can still make music. You know?
Yeah, 100%. I that's absolutely correct. And your choice on how you approach that and give it more context is going to be entirely up to you. So I'm sorry we don't have a definitive answer on that for you, but that's what we've got going.
Yeah, it's just a confusing sentence.
I think you have to form the scene in your mind to where you are comfortable, to where it makes sense for you, and where you can envision it and allow yourself to really perform the way you want.
Is it trying to say that the people that built this world, they're content with their failure as long as you have this tape recorder that is proof that you don't have the tools to keep up with the professionals? Is it kind of like that?
Honestly, it could be referencing, you know, the older generation, the people who
I think it's a metaphor.
Yeah, I think it's metaphorical. I don't think it's specifically a group that's like ruining a world.
Up to interpretation.
Yeah. So it's kind of like maybe, you know, you could replace the people with your parents. Your parents who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. You know, like it could be referencing just the larger sort of situation as a whole. But again, that's a decision you are going to have to make for yourself to put that into context. So, again, if you still need something extra, we'll work on it in your directed reads. But let's go ahead and get into those right now. You'll have some time to think about it and maybe chat about it a little bit in the chat too. Maybe you can get something from there. But let's go ahead and start up with the directed reads with Frankie. Frankie, whenever you're ready, go for it.
All right. Listen, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you. But they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It could be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing. If you got this. Don't be scared.
All right, opening it up. What did y'all think?
Actually, so when you said "don't be scared," that made me go "ooh." So that's just like the first thing. Overall, I think it was a decent take. I would like to hear a little bit more emotion and to maybe slow it down just a tad.
I agree. It was a bit fast. If you slowed down, I definitely think there could be more emotional weight to it.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with the pace. I do think it got stronger as it went along, and the ending was very nice. The first line to me felt like you didn't know what to do with it.
Maybe try a lead in with that first line. And like my suggestion for that is, because I think we're all in the headspace that we're a much older individual compared to Acel. I think you could, at least in my mind, I started off with "Hey kid" or "Kid, listen," and then I go from there.
Well, Frankie did add a lead in with "listen" or "look."
Yeah, she did have a lead
Yeah.
in.
So there was a lead in there, but I think
It was
so Frankie, do you have a clear idea of what you want to do with that first sentence, or does it seem kind of a little bit for that first line?
Yeah, I've got some idea. It's just the moment before, like the moment before what I'm responding to might have been off.
Okay. So what are you responding to?
The situation basically is that Acel is dealing with a tough time. She just got seriously retaliated against by some higher ups in the industry who came after her in a very, very serious way. Her life was in jeopardy, and she's no closer to her goal, and she's just feeling very stuck in life. Like, she wants to walk away. So that's kind of where I'm at with the headspace. But as to the direct moment before itself, what led up to this conversation, I mean, like, what directly led up to this conversation, not the background context. That's where I'm at more of a loss.
Okay. Yeah. And that is reflective of your that's reflected in your delivery of that very first line. So why don't you try this? Why don't you try you've been looking for Acel, and you spot her up on this hill, and it's dark, it's icy, it's cold, and you walk up and you take a seat next to her.
All right.
Let's just see what that does. If that doesn't work for you, we'll try something else, but let's just see what that does.
All right. Hey. Listen. I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people of this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It could be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing. If you got this. Don't be scared. Please.
All right, opening it up. How was that?
I
More
thought that.
connection.
Did you go first?
Mine was shorter. More connection I felt in that read.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. I do feel that you did when you did kind of the stop and start. I felt there could be like a little more acted confidence. Like when you first sit down, obviously you're going to be a little bit, uncertain. Um, but it felt like kind of a jump from waiting for it and saying those lines really slow, and then really starting to speed up with the second line. I think you could have gone just a little bit faster, even after the first sentence, instead of waiting to finish the whole line.
Frankie,
Yes.
I like the way that you got into the scene there. And I think we should build it out just a little bit more. Let's see what it does, because now that you have a set scene, you're starting to communicate things differently here. So the only time Estelle actually speaks to you is in that line where she says, "What is?" Her shoulders shake a little. So that means that the entire time you aren't talking to anybody. You're not responding to any quick anything, and you're not trying to catch yourself or explain things. You're grasping at straws a little bit because you're getting very little in the way of feedback. Waiting for it to get dark, and then she turns and looks at you and hasn't said anything yet. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you. You're talking to a brick wall essentially. And I don't know if you've ever spoken to anybody who just like they're there, they heard you, they just don't respond. That's the emotional space that you should be having throughout this whole thing. You're interacting with someone who's not giving you anything back.
All right.
All the way until the end. And that last line, you've gotten to her. You know that something got through that wall that Estelle has put up. So that last little bit there really should be, a that like, okay, I know I've gotten through to you. That reassuring kind of end to the whole thing.
All right.
Let's hear that.
Yeah, the first line was super disjointed, like pauses after every 2 or 3 words. And your character is something like a mentor or father figure or big brother figure, somebody who's confident and who's been through this and is trying to reassure that, hey, I've been through this. I know this, whatever this is, it's not going to kill you. You're going to be okay. And that's hard to do if you have a super disjointed delivery. And it doesn't sound like you're actually talking to this person.
Was going to add on to that. Yeah, it felt like you don't have to be super shy in the approach since you're the older figure. You could communicate a bit more confidence at the beginning. You are muted.
Huh?
Oh, I thought
Yes,
Michael was.
I started talking and I was muted. Well, Frankie, whenever you're ready, go for it.
All right. Hey. Mind if I take a seat? Listen, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice. At your age, or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It was easier to live in their failure. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing. If you got this, don't be scared. I promise.
Okay, opening it up. How was that?
Just one technical issue at the beginning when you missed over feeling miserable. But besides that, you did handle the intro a bit more confidently. So yeah, that's a plus.
Yeah, way better on the first line.
All right. Technical issues aside, performance. How was it?
I thought I had a very good level of sincerity throughout.
It sounded like you were talking to this person, so hey, that it's got to be pretty good then.
So, Frankie, I know you want to get into more character acting, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it seems like the exercise that's really going to help you out a lot more in your reads just in general is fully building out the scene. What is happening between you and them? All of your movements, everything like that. Block out the scene. And you know, stage blocking as in, you know, actually have physical actions and movements in the world itself. Because I think that's only going to help enhance your reads. That one was much more connected than your first read. Were you moving around this time, or are you using your body and more of the space around you?
I'm in a very tight space, so
Okay,
I
then.
could only squat so much and move my hands a little bit.
Okay, okay. Well, either way, it definitely much better this time. Anybody else? Cool. Let's go ahead and move it along. Damien, you are up.
Camera keeps blocking out my water bottle. Apparently that's not okay. I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you got this. Don't be scared.
All right, opening it up. What did you all think?
I was visualizing your character coming out to the ice, unfolding a piece of paper, and reading a prepared speech to her. It didn't sound like you were talking to her.
I got the opposite.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, it was very dark and brooding and stuff. Like, I felt like I was like, I don't know, in like one of those like Frank Miller films or something. The like Sin City or whatever. It was just like this big, huge guy comes up to sit by this like little tiny girl. And you got me. I don't know. I don't really have feedback.
Okay, anybody else?
I do think it sounded a little bit less sort of, to go back to the character words you initially laid out. It sounded a bit less like supportive and comforting, just because that could just bend the tone of voice. But if you're putting on a voice, you might consider something just a little bit more, I guess, fatherly, something more like friendly, I guess.
What is your character's relationship with this girl?
They're a mentor.
They're a mentor?
They're a mentor. They
Mm.
are a mentor.
Try
You know,
this.
he's-
Here's the exercise now. Your character is not separate from you.
Oh, that's what you're getting at. I thought you were going after my grammar.
I'm not that petty. Don't give me that.
Hey, no. I'm an English teacher. I would have defended
Oh
myself.
no, I know you're a teacher, and I'm not going to approach you on that. You know, you'll run circles around me in that front. But no. Your character is not separate from you. Again, your goal as a character actor is to be just as involved in the scene as the other people in it, as the character, so to speak. So your character is not a character; it is you. So try this for the exercise.
When I'm
What-
doing the
your-
scene, I see it as myself.
Okay, so then answer the questions that you're going to be asked about your character as yourself.
Okay.
So then, well, let's re-ask the question: who are you in relationship to a cell?
I am a mentor. I'm
Okay.
a little disconnected from my mentee emotionally. But
Does
not
she
s-
take what? Yeah. Does she take like one-on-one lessons with you? Are you a music teacher, or are you just some teacher in a school and she's a student in one of your classes?
In my mind, I am a journalist
Mhm.
at this big paper.
Okay.
Okay.
And also a smoker.
Okay.
Okay.
So then, what did you do to lead up to this point? What happened just before the scene?
I was taking a drag off a cigarette. I was walking up, I was taking a drag off the cigarette. I was actually gonna do like that noise. Or at least what I think it would sound like, which is
Then why not?
I didn't know if the microphone would pick it up.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the microphone picks up the noise before.
It can be edited out later.
True.
Is there a mental or emotional process that you go through when you notice her and decide to approach her?
Elaborate.
In the moment before the scene starts, you take a drag off a cigarette and then you talk to her. So, what made you go talk to her? She's some girl sitting on the ice. You know her. What brought you to her emotionally? Did you see her sitting on the ice and go, I wonder what she's doing? Or did you see her and know what's happening and go, I need to say something to her? What's going through your head as you're taking that drag?
I need to say something to her.
Okay.
Okay. Why?
Because I've seen too many people quit.
Okay.
Go for it. Whenever you're ready. From the top.
I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you got this. Don't be scared.
All right, opening it back up. What did y'all think of that one?
I actually have a question. Did you guys get the whole cigarette thing? Like, were you able to hear that? I don't know if the mic picked that up.
You're overthinking the moment before.
We don't need to hear it. You need to do it. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Either way,
Not
you know,
matter.
it doesn't really matter whether we hear it or not. It's about whether or not you do it to get your mind into the scene.
Okay.
So if you did it, that's what matters more than anything else.
Because ultimately, if this had been recorded to be put into a show, the cigarette drag would be cut out. It's
Sure.
just getting the character established with that motion.
So, speaking of establishing your character, I think this one definitely had that more this time around, but I'm of the opinion that this accent that you're putting on, this slight drag on your voice, or however you want to describe it, is not serving your performance very well.
I agree, and I want to hear it in a natural tone. With all of the characters still, but with a natural tone. I think particularly when you hit the word world, you're trying to get more opening in your mouth to get that more baritone sound. But when you get to the word world, it requires you to put your mouth into a shape that cuts off the baritone sound. So you're trying to overemphasize the tone, and that leads to the word getting underemphasized or under-enunciated.
My impression here is it would really help you to change up the words and deliver the whole thing in your own words. But this was clearly a much better read than the first one, at least to me. So good job on making it better.
Anyone else?
No, we also got a note from Twitch over here that want to hear it in your own voice, just whatever.
My voice.
Yeah, just drop the accent.
I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable. At your age or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you got this. Don't be scared.
Yeah, that was a really, really solid take. Really solid take. What did you all think?
I think it felt like a lot more genuine. Just it like yeah, I think that's the best way I can put it. It really felt like you were speaking from your heart, and not just with your mouth. That was really good.
Yeah, I think we're ready to move on. That was good.
Yeah, did that feel different to you, Damien? I'm not asking you to critique your read. I'm asking you how you felt. Did that feel different to you from previous reads?
I don't want to break the Dan rule.
Yeah, please don't.
Did it feel different? I want to say it did feel a lot different. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that feeling definitely carried through in your performance because it sounded way different. It sounded very, very good. So I'm comfortable with us going ahead and moving it right along to Brett.
If it's okay, I would like to hear from a couple more people.
Oh, yeah. Let's go ahead, open it up. What did everybody else think? Please. Damien is requesting more feedback.
Different
I
from the other
enjoyed
reads.
character choice. Sorry.
Wait, what now?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I when you both spoke at once, I didn't. Yeah, you.
I
Brett.
enjoyed the character choice, like the emotional state you put yourself in and everything. It was definitely that dark and brooding, disconnected mentor status for me. So it sold me.
So you didn't lose it, even though you lost the accent, which was good, Damien.
Okay. What about the depth? I want to say.
You mean like the depth of your voice?
Depth of the voice compared to the depth of the character.
Well, again, so one of the things that I'm always a proponent of is unless you can essentially mindlessly speak in a particular accent, unless it's already naturally part of your lexicon, it's only going to detract from what you're doing. So the fact that you took the time that you needed to sort of get rid of that, or to readjust your mind and to readjust the sound of your character, I think it put you in a better mindset. That's what I got from it. I could see what you were doing in the scene versus getting caught up on the idiosyncrasies of the accent that you were putting on. And I don't even know if you noticed it. I don't know if that was like an intentional choice to give this character that accent, but dropping that entirely or approaching the character from a completely different angle like you did really made a massive difference. So your character was deeper regardless of your voice, because your mind was more in line with what was going on in the scene.
Am I allowed to explain what I was doing?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. I'd love to hear.
So for those first couple takes, what my intention was a much darker scene. I was going for, as Brett said, that Sin City vibe. I wanted it, like, in my mind, it is very dark at night. It is, snow all over the ground. There's ice in some areas. In my mind, my guy has like I am wearing a dark long coat. I have like one hand in my pocket. I've got the other one holding a cigarette. I had this entire scene in my head, and I was really invested in the character or myself. And granted, it does say, like, gives her a rather sweet, rousing speech. I was going for that, but a bit darker. Like, it doesn't, like,
okay,
like it could be a sweet, rousing speech without the voice of the character being a higher pitch. It could still be a dark, it could still be a deeper pitch, but the sweet and rousing part comes from the content.
of what
But you can also
what the
you can
character of
have
what myself is saying.
you can
and
have a
how I
dark
say it.
character in a dark scene in a dark movie that doesn't have a deep voice. In Reservoir Dogs, you've got a guy who, tortures someone and ends up doing some pretty nasty things with a really high voice. Like, he's got a pretty high voice. And you still get that this is a freaking dark scene. There's some dancing involved, but it's a dark scene. And in Sin City, there are characters with high voices. It's not about your ability to create darkness in a scene. It's just that you were doing a voice that impaired your ability to portray the correct emotions. If you practiced at that voice a lot more, then I think you would eventually be able to do those emotions with that voice, but it would take a lot of practice. You're not ready to audition with that voice right now, is my opinion.
And in general, it's not about the voice, it's about the attitude.
Well, yeah, one of the things I've heard repeated many times in my quest for learning voice acting is that it's about the acting, not the voice. Like everyone has unique voices, but if you're acting and you're acting from the heart, like with your last take, when you weren't focused on the accent and you were more focused on the character, being in the moment, that's when it sounded good in your own voice, but you're acting. So like that's what made it good, I think.
Great. Thank you all for the feedback, and I very much appreciate that.
No problem.
Yeah.
Brett, you are up whenever you're ready.
Hey, kid. Listen, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. Listen, the people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing. If you got this, don't be scared.
All right, opening it up. What did y'all think of that one?
I really like that approach. Like the tone that you had throughout the whole thing, of it not necessarily going for what we've seen so far with the sadness or not sadness, but like comforting from sadness, but like trying to approach from a happier point of view. I like
It
that.
was definitely a distinct decision.
I think that I liked how you established context. I can't remember who did that first, but you also established context with your acting with sort of the grunts and the sighs. But I do think there was a point, I don't remember which one it was, but it kind of interrupted the flow a little bit. So I think you could have just done it to establish the scene and then started reading the lines just more like, you're relaxed. You're not making sounds in between. But it was good. I liked how you established the context first with the with the sounds to sort of say, you're sitting down now. You're not just poof, there you are. Just don't feel no need to overdo it.
What's your character's feeling toward Acel?
So it's a lot. They're more of a reluctant mentor. So this person, Acel, kind of admired me, and we happened to cross paths. And so like I didn't necessarily want to mentor Estelle, but I kind of got stuck in a position where I kind of am mentoring her. So kind of there.
Were you nervous giving that take?
No.
Okay. I don't know if other people did, but I picked up a lot of anxiety in the read. And so I was just wondering if that was a
character choice.
Okay. Okay.
You definitely had the emotional connection and the consistent attitude. The one thing that I'm not quite comfortable with is in several points your tone sound was verging on whiny.
Okay. Maybe lower the pitch.
So the people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. And that kind of thing.
Okay.
And I don't know that it's a pitch thing, but
No, it's a dragging on thing. So the people who built this world intended it to be better for you. You see how that drags on? If we just shorten that up, the people who built this world intended it to be better for you. It cuts out a lot of the whininess.
Okay.
So I think it's just button things up, and that'll make your character sound more confident.
Okay.
So,
cool.
Whenever you're
Go for
ready,
it.
go for it.
Okay. Hey, kid. Ugh. Listen, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable at your age or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing if you got this. Don't be scared.
Okay. How was that?
I really like the energy that you have. Like I could feel it throughout from start to finish. So I definitely want to hear more of that.
I like Michael's LOL in the comments for that.
I was responding to Sam.
Oh, I thought it was for the energy thing.
No, I'm not gonna LOL at energy. I've cringed internally. We'll leave it at that.
I can see the confusion that they had with the drags on certain words.
Yeah.
I saw it. Not saw. I heard it a bit when I forgot the specific lines, but like at the end for "Don't Be Scared," I heard it a bit there. But other than that, yeah, same. It had the same energy. I still liked it.
I just wanted to say something real quick. I mentioned it earlier in above, but it sounds to me more like this is your best friend over, or like you're like being the best friend over a mentor. It's like, hey, the people built this world intended it to be better for you. It doesn't really feel like something how a mentor would say it, at least to me. It feels more like, nah, dude, it's okay. There's nothing wrong. Just chill out. That's how I hear it. Like it's just your buddy that you're just talking to. I don't really hear it as like someone more detached, but still trying to connect to this person. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and even people who are very nonchalant, very chill, very cool with things, they have their ways of comforting people. You're still here trying to comfort her at the end of the day. Just, you have your own unique way of doing it.
Yeah,
that is true.
I was gonna say, yeah, I agree. Bounce back off that. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a specific way to comfort a mentee or a student. you can have that like best friend kind of relationship if you're that close, which I'm figuring that Brent's character is with I forgot how to say her name.
So
Cell. With the cell, yes.
Yeah, the character totally works for me. There's still a hint of the whininess, but there's a lot less of it. So I'm basically happy.
So there's one change I'm going to suggest for this next read.
Okay.
And I think it'll put you right. I think it'll clear up a lot of what people are hearing. At the end, keep it down low and just keep it really straightforward and confident. Nothing if you got this. Don't be scared.
Okay.
All right. Just that. That would be the only change. You've got a great character going so far. I think you have it pretty clear in mind what you want to be doing. Just make that last end part really confident, and I think you'll be good to go.
Okay. Hey, kid. I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable at your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. Listen, the people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing if you got this. Don't be scared.
Yeah, that was genuinely the one change you needed to make. That was right where you needed to be.
yeah, that last slide totally sold it for me. Very much stronger, just in every respect.
Ooh.
No more whining.
All right.
I
Rockin'
got,
tacos.
I'm going to give you a tidbit. I got my inspiration from Peter B. Parker.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it.
Kind of felt like it. Yep.
Yeah, that's, I don't know. Except I put him in, like, as a musician that she admired instead of Spider-Man.
Okay. Hey, you know what?
But-
It's guess what? That's now a new character.
Yeah, exactly. I was like,
canon.
"Ooh, I like this.
Yeah, I
Don't
get it.
don't
Canon.
disrupt the
Walk away
canon
without
event.
reading very
Canon.
well. Okay.
Anyways, moving
So
along.
he's holding on.
So let's go ahead and move it right along. So we had a slight change in the order. Justin's going to be going next. Justin, whenever you're ready, go
Okay.
for it.
Didn't like that final read. Oh shit!
It's all right, Frankie. It's all right.
I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, for reference. Oh boy. Sorry, I am consulting with a. Oh my god.
All right, don't worry about it, Frankie.
I am so sorry.
All right, I'll just remind everybody, go ahead and make sure you're muted up. Justin, whenever you're ready, go for it.
I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable at your age or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. No, it is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing if you got this. Don't be scared.
All right, opening it up. What did you all think of that one?
I think that was a very solid read. I totally felt like you were my dad. Like it was a sit down chat with a parent. There was one part right here, in between you tap on the tape recorder. The wind howls to remain silent. It is not a childish fantasy. I don't think you needed to pause as much as you did because you're not responding to anything. Like it's silence. So you don't need to emphasize like it's not a childish fantasy as if she said it's just a childish fantasy. You could just say it's not a childish fantasy. You know, like you're pressing further. You're pressing the point, and you're not retaliating against something. But that's the only comment I have. Your tone was great. Your delivery, like I said, it sounded like a parent, like someone who's talking to someone they care about and they're concerned about.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of imagine her trying to say something and I'm trying to put her out of that. But I can clean up that pause there.
Anybody else? Okay. Yeah, no, I really liked, again, Justin, you seem to have this knack for being able to really put yourself into a scene once you've had time to really analyze it and open it up. Yeah, go ahead and clean up that pause and let's hear it again.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable at your age or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing. If you got this, don't be scared.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the direction that went in.
That was
What
it.
do you all think?
That was great. I'm sold.
Yeah, taking the real parental approach really worked for you there. I'm glad that you made that choice and stuck with it because I think that was a unique approach that we haven't heard quite yet. So, yeah, I liked it. I liked it a lot. Anybody else?
Cool.
Anybody feel differently? Anybody like to hear anything different? Okay, moving along. Kimberly, you're now up.
Okay. Okay. This is my favorite word. I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable at your age or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing. If you got this, don't be scared.
Okay, opening it up. What did y'all think?
I think it has a potential to be a really great read if it just slow down a tad. Like I think the space, the headspace was there. It's just a slight slowdown in speed.
That's what I would add. Yeah, a pause or just slowing down your pace would really work wonders. It kind of sounds like you're almost the older friend, and that's a nice vibe. I like what it has going for it. There's one other thing I was going to say,
Calm
but I
down
forgot.
just a little bit. Give it some Regina King energy.
That's Riley from the Boondocks, right?
Yep.
Yes, that is Riley from the Boondocks.
I would request a little bit of breath support. It sounded just a little too faint to me. Boldening it up a little bit would help a lot, I think.
What does that mean? And the Regina King one, what do those mean? Sorry.
So,
Go ahead.
you go first, Alex.
I just mean with the breath support, take a nice comfortable breath, and make sure that your sound is coming out clearly at a good volume. You can
Okay,
get
so
sometimes a little, yeah,
so you're saying that Kimberly is sounding a little breathy?
a little breathy and a little faint, sort of
Okay.
inconsistent in
Okay.
volume and staying at the bottom of the level.
Okay.
Okay. I get that. And Jamie, I think Kimberly might need a little clarification on exactly what it is you're going for.
If you've heard Regina King on the Boondocks, you have a certain sturdiness, a stability in her voice. When your first read, you felt more nervous than Acel should be, than Acel is, and you felt more nervous. It's what it came off to me. And when I say give it some Regina King energy, give it some weight, give it some security, some knowledge in what you're saying, and that is going to give you the confidence that you're going to need in this read, because if you're going to be a mentor to her, then the mentor can't be nervous. You got me?
Some more confidence and breathe. Okay.
Just go slower.
Full breath, more
And slower.
confidence, a little slower. Whenever you're ready, go for it.
I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. At your age or at any age. In this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this country, no. Bleh. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing. If you got this, don't be scared.
Okay. How was that one?
That was a totally different take on the last line, and I liked it.
I would say, actually, I disagree a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. It could just it's just my opinion. I think it sounds better like nothing if you got this, because whenever you put, say, if you got this, don't be scared. I don't know. It just making it a conditional. If you got this, don't be scared, instead of nothing. If you got this, it just the first one sounds a little bit stronger. But everything else was good. Yeah, you actually redid a take. But I thought the first one was stronger. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. You sounded expressive and really in character. And the second one wasn't. You nailed it in the first take. Is what I'm trying to say.
You were
Yeah,
definitely
even-
chanting. Oh, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, yeah, that was a violation of the Dan rule right there. You talked yourself out of a good read. You 100% talked yourself out of a good read right there.
I caught you channeling the Boondocks when you said country instead of world.
For me, it still needs to be slower. Acel has just stormed out of the room, whatever situation she was in. It was a bad situation. She went out to the ice to be alone, sat down. She's ready to sit there for hours. And it's cold and windy. And when you come out there, it's not like a 30-second, oh, attaboy, you're good, and walk away. And take your time with it. It takes time to establish the emotional connection with Acel.
Whenever you're ready, from the top.
And remember, just relax. We're not going to interrupt or anything. Just take your time. You got this.
I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. At your age or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you. Nothing. If you got this by blah, nothing. If you got this, don't be scared.
So, slight change to the script at the end, but I think it still worked with your performance. Overall, everything that led up to it was really solid. I liked where you were going with that because you had more of this, like, you know, serious, take no crap kind of attitude going into it. And I think that worked for your character. You were able to sell that very well. I think it definitely fit. But yeah, I think at the end there, changing that up, I guess it helped out a little bit. I do have to step away, but I'm going to go ahead and open it up for more feedback.
I would say I'm actually starting to grow on the if you got this is starting to grow on me. But I like what you almost did there. You were like, if you got this by your side, what if you did something like, if you got this, nothing. Don't be scared. Just to try and keep those two lines separate. Because if you got this, don't be scared, I feel they're stronger separate. So
Also,
something
put
like,
pause in between.
yeah,
this
if
and
you got
that.
this, yeah, but switch the word order. It's like, if you got this, nothing. Don't be scared.
Oh,
Or
I
something
see
like
what
that.
you mean. Okay.
Because that way you get the timing that you're trying to do. And I think it's a good timing. It works with your character. It sounds like that's how you would say the line in character. So you could give that a try.
So like, if you got this, nothing. Don't be scared. Like that.
Give that a go.
I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. At your age or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. If you got this, nothing. Don't be scared.
That worked. I'm good with that.
Yeah, that was it. Nice job.
Thank you.
Great. Moving right along. Sam, you're up next.
Thank you for letting me go earlier. I appreciate it. Okay. Hey, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable. At your age or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing. If you got this, don't be scared.
Okay, opening it up. How was that?
Felt like that was pretty fast. And I particularly felt like in one of the earlier lines, at any age in this weather, that those two phrases kind of ran together in an odd way for me. Like, well, yeah, you put a pause before at any age, and then after weather, but you didn't put it in between at any age in this weather. It was just at any age in this weather. That felt very weird to me.
Okay.
The whole thing felt stiff to me. It could have been the speed or the tone. It could be a little bit softer. That's what stuck out to me as much as it did.
I was to add that, the stiffness, I think part of it comes from you weren't inflecting as much. You're kind of reading like right down here in your throat, like nothing. If you got this, don't be scared. Whereas you could read it a little bit more like nothing. If you got this, and sort of, let your voice rise a little bit. I don't think reading it deep in your voice is, if that takes away from like the tone of it, and your ability to emote, then the voice isn't working for you. So don't be afraid. No one has to think like, oh, his voice isn't that deep. Oh, terrible voice. No one's gonna be thinking that. Like, you can let your voice rise a little bit. So don't be afraid to inflect, to sort of show your range a little bit more, to really give expressiveness to the character.
Gotcha.
Add on to that, it's a similar.
All right. I like this.
It's a similar
Dogpile time.
It's a similar situation to what we were doing with Damien. That's all I was gonna say. Think of it like that. You don't have to pretend your voice. You don't have to play to a certain voice. You could go all natural, and it would be better.
Okay. I will say one thing. I actually wasn't trying to do a voice. I was trying to be more soft, but I must
That was not there at all.
Okay.
No, honestly, it sounded incredibly stern. The entire delivery was just there was no uplift to it.
Okay.
You soft don't have kids.
I can't imagine what you'd be like stern.
That's a learning experience, Jamie.
My thought on this is it would really help to have contractions where instead of it is easier, it is not a childish fantasy, you just say it's. And it's totally okay to do that. And that would help both with the stiffness and the sternness. It makes it sound more relaxed and more natural.
Okay.
Indeed. So contract things, soften it up a little bit more. And remember, this is supposed to be rousing and hopeful by the end. Whenever you're ready. Everybody else, make sure you're muted up.
Hey, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you got this. Don't be scared.
Okay, opening it up. That was that one.
I'm still not hearing you talking to a cell.
I think Leonard's contraction suggestion for it is, when you say it is not childish, it would be a really good choice for you with the way that you're currently delivering it.
I just forgot to do it.
You see, that's the problem. Okay, so then intentionally, it's easier to live in their failure, and it's not a childish fantasy.
Yeah, I'll make that change on the notes right now.
Specifically, it's easier to live in their failure. It's not a childish fantasy. Contract those, because right now, reading it is very robotic. It doesn't sound natural whatsoever. So I think I think you're sticking really closely to the text of the script, and that may be throwing you off a little bit. Are you seeing the scene? Are you interacting with Estelle? Do you see her responding to what you're saying?
I think it's my nerves getting in the way of it, because before I got up here, I was already thinking about what I wanted to do. Like, the first part is supposed to be like I have my hand on their shoulder, like, hey, stuff happens. And then when it gets to, like, specifically there where it gets to the middle section where it talks about you like tapping on the tape, I wanted to go for like I'm pulling up my hands, like this is going to help you get you through it, but it's not like your crutch. Like, this will help you get to where you got to go, but it's not going to get you there by itself.
You
sort
see,
of deal.
I think that attitude though is causing you to sound a lot more stern because that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to make a cell feel better. I don't think it's supposed to be it's not going to get you there, but it is going to be a tool. I think instead it should be you're not hopeless. You do have a tool that can help you.
Okay.
Reframe it to be more positive.
I have it framed as upbeat. I will have to.
You
All
have
right.
that is your upbeat.
Hey,
It's gonna
hey.
suck. You have a little bit of a crutch, but it's still gonna suck. That's
are you-
That's all I've ever learned in life. All right.
How are you sad?
No one ever gave me an arm to cry on. It was always, this is gonna get you through it whether you like it or not.
Okay, so we're gonna have to emotionally shift that over to, hey, look, things suck, but at least you have something that's going to make everything suck less, and that's a great thing.
Okay, I will give that a shot.
No, you will not give it a shot.
I will do it.
Do it. Thank you, Sam. You've got this. And believe me, I'm being a lot kinder than Nancy will be.
He is. He is.
Oh, I listened to her 2-hour video and I got to see how fast she'll snap on somebody about stuff.
Yep. So this is sort of a little bit of a prep to that, but no, I'm being serious there. Like you're gonna have to emotionally reframe that because currently everything is skewed more towards negative, and you're trying to make these things sound more positive.
Okay.
So whenever you're ready, go for it.
Hey, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failures with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you got this. Don't be scared.
I can feel the emotional shift in that one. What did you all think of it?
It's better, but it still doesn't feel like he's talking to a cell.
Yeah, for me, it feels like he's like on the phone with them, like trying to talk them out of stuff. It doesn't sound like he's right there, but there was definitely more emotional change in this read for sure.
The last
I-
line, "Don't be scared," felt almost forceful, like not comforting, like, "Hey, don't be scared," but like, "Hey, don't be scared." You know, it had a lot of force behind it. Still sounds a little stiff to me there.
Bring me your inner
Yeah.
TV dad.
Inner
He-
what?
TV dad.
TV dad. Which one?
Pick one.
Like Homer
for
Simpson,
me,
kind of?
For
He's all
me,
right, boy.
Homer Simpson, Al Bundy, I don't care.
If I were a cell, I would be feeling like you were attacking me.
Be
I mean,
Uncle
it
Phil
was
from Fresh
it
Prince.
was really forceful in that way.
I see. I see. Okay. Let me give it another shot. Hey, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you got this. It's all right. Don't be scared.
Yeah, much much improved. Much improved. What did you all think?
That last line was vastly better.
Mhm.
I think that the opening could be improved still. I think maybe even like, have you ever seen a show where the dad referred to someone as kiddo? Because you're saying hey as you go, and I think hey kiddo would get you in a more appropriate mindset. But
Give me
really, a lot of it has vastly improved. You've made good progress with it.
Yeah, I will agree. The last bit you really landed it. The first bit could use some work. If you could just give me a "come here, young fella," is your lead in, maybe, I don't know, something to soften things a bit, because you're trying to pump someone up and you don't do it like a drill sergeant.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, you're talking to a girl who's an emotional wreck right now. So soften it up a bit more.
Okay. I will try. I will do. Hey, kiddo. I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended for it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you got this. It's all right. Don't be scared.
I am satisfied with that performance personally. What do you all think? Brett gave the thumbs up, so we've got a positive
Indubitably.
outlook there. Yes. Quite spiffing of you. Yes, yes.
A vastly different read from your first
Smashing.
read. I saw like evolution happen, but not over, the world's evolutionary scale. God, get with the times. Sam did it in like, 2 minutes. Fucking Fish did it, like, took forever.
Yeah.
Years. Eons.
That's okay. Nancy will whip you into shape. I'll just.
Oh, I'll bet.
She
Yeah.
absolutely will. She absolutely will.
No, but I'm ready for that though. That's exciting.
Tell me about how it goes tomorrow, please.
I'm probably going to be coming to you in tears, but I think it'll be fine.
Hey, I think Roddy survived his first meeting with Nancy without any tears.
I did.
Yeah. So.
They were almost there on the second meeting.
Yeah, it gets easier, trust me. Anyways, yes, Sam, great job. Let's move it along. James, you're up.
Hey, kiddo. Look, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childhood fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you got this. Come on, don't be scared.
Okay, a couple of notes. Too fast. I liked the first laugh. I think that worked, but the subsequent ones became just too much. You overused the tool. So, cut those out. Be more sincere, but, more on the level. Laughing is one of those tools, just like shouting. It's got its place. Don't overuse it. I really liked the way that it opened up, though. I really liked your emotional space at the very beginning, and that you generally kept that same emotional space, and you projected it upwards more positively as you went through it. So I think you've got a great handle of the emotional space of this read, but it sounds like You need to curb your use of the laugh and make sure that you are in control of the situation. Keep keep your tone, or not tone, sorry, keep your pace controlled. Those are my notes. Anybody else?
I agree. And main thing is just slow it down. But you really did a good job with the emotional connection there.
All right. Then if nobody has anything else, go for it again.
Jamie, you need to hook me up with your friend's slow down sign. I need one of those.
Slow the expletive deleted
Right,
down.
right. I was trying to keep it clean. Hey, kiddo. I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childhood fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing if you got this. Come on. Don't be scared.
That fixed all of my qualms that I had with your performance. Every single one of them fixed. Opening it up.
Next.
Yeah, I think we're good to go. Roddy.
Yeah,
All right.
just all around, very nice.
Thank you.
Okay, 2 questions. 1, can you hear the rain in the background?
No.
Okay. 2, I just realized that kind of answered my first question. I was going to ask, can you hear me from here?
So your 2 questions were really 1 question.
Yes.
All right.
And we hear you totally fine.
Okay.
Also, James, don't worry about the whole keeping it PG thing. I mean, Brett kind of already ruined that.
Yeah,
So-
I know.
What did I say? I don't remember.
I think you dropped an F-bomb earlier.
Yeah,
Oh,
you did.
My fucking bad.
All right, Roddy, whenever you're ready, go for it.
Okay. Figured I'd find you out here. Mind if I sit? Just kidding. I'm sorry you have to sit here on ice, feeling miserable at your age or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. You know, the people who built this world intended it for it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failures with this by your side. And it's not a childish fantasy, all right? It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing. If you got this, don't be scared. You're going to be fine.
That was so painfully close to a one and done for you. Painfully
You were
close.
making all my choices.
All right, what was it?
It was the laugh. It was the
Okay,
laugh.
okay.
Okay. If anybody else disagrees with me, please let me know. But I think the laugh just was entirely unnecessary in that performance. You were right where you needed to be, and that just it didn't work.
Okay.
Okay, Michael, here's what I'll say. I will agree with you, but you have to acknowledge that the scene is just a little bit somber. That's my condition.
That you think the scene that he created was just too somber?
No. You remember how at the beginning when we were breaking down the scene that you said you're kind of on the fence about somber?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you
Well-
said you might disagree about it. Now you're saying a laugh is out of place.
I think
Well,
you agree.
The thing is, no.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
I'm listening.
Don't
I
put words
understand.
in my mouth. I'm not saying that it needs to be somber. The thing is the laugh was, in my opinion, it broke me out of the immersion. It broke me out of seeing you finally like connect with this person.
Okay.
You like Roddy, you were this close. And unfortunately, I think that laugh was just sprinkled in the wrong place.
Okay.
Okay, I hear that.
Understandable.
I would agree.
Understandable.
So it's not that I'm trying to make your scene sound darker, more somber, whatever the case may be. It's that I think the laugh was used in the improper place for what you were going for.
I can see that.
I actually think that you were already heading in sort of like this positive direction with it. It was sort of a quiet and understated positive, but it was still positive. And that laugh was just incongruous with the rest of your emotional space. It was that spike that broke you out of where you were needed to be.
For the record, I was totally fine with it. But
Hey, I had to let it seal of a real
Brett,
bone.
thanks so much for being here. Take it easy, man.
Okay. See, man.
All right. Do it again.
No laugh. Okay.
No laugh. No laugh. You're communicating the emotional space well. You really are. Just you don't need the laugh.
Don't need the laugh. Got it. But everything else is fine.
100%.
Figured I'd find you out here. Just sit. Just kidding. Sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable at your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. You know, the people who built this world intended it for it to be better for you. But they failed. It is easier to live in their failures when you have this at your side. And trust me, it's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing. If you got this, don't be scared. You're going to be fine.
Yeah, you see? I loved that read, but mine's not the only opinion here. What did you all think?
It was good. I think
thought it was
think
great.
that's it. Yeah.
you really only needed to read the last line.
Okay.
Sure, maybe, but that doesn't matter. The whole performance is what matters. And Roddy, you put it all together. You really did.
Would you say that's voice sample worthy?
Yeah.
Noted.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably sample worthy.
Except it's a little long for that.
That's true.
Not a sample.
Oh yeah.
Just don't put it in the demo.
Yeah.
Right.
Not it's not
Oh,
demo
definitely
worthy.
not.
It's
No.
sample worthy.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Isaac, it is now your turn.
All right. Let's make that bigger. Look, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you. but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing. If you got this, don't be scared.
All right, opening it up. What did everybody think?
Like the emotional space. Give him a moment.
Okay. I liked it overall. The second line with the people who built this world,
yeah,
sounded a touch aggressive to me.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
I'd soften that a bit.
All right. Okay. Anything else?
Nope, that's it. Let's hear
All
it.
right. Take two. Show this. All right. Look, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing. If you got this, don't be scared.
Okay. I was hoping you weren't going to repeat this, but you did with both of them. So,
Okay.
Second sentence of the second line. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. You
Yeah.
put a lot of emphasis on their failure. It's easier
Okay.
to live in their failure. Easier. You want easier to be the operative.
Oh, okay.
It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side.
Okay.
So that's my one big change that I want to hear for this one.
Okay.
But overall, I mean, you've had plenty of reads before you and plenty of feedback going, so it seems like you definitely took some notes and refined a little bit, which is the purpose of doing it this way. So so far, I think generally you're on the right track. It's just that one change I think is really going to nicely transform where you're going with this script.
Okay. All right. Actually, let me get a drink of water first.
Stay hydrated, folks.
Look, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not childish fantasy.
I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to roll you back.
Okay.
It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. I see that you've placed the emphases in different places. Now smooth them out. Don't make them so harsh.
Okay. All right. Just straight from there or from the top?
Directly from that line, or at least from the beginning of the second
Okay.
second line.
The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you got this. Don't be scared.
Okay, opening it up. What did you all think?
I'd say still watch out for overemphasis. Sometimes when you hit a word, you may be hitting it a little stronger than you mean to.
Okay.
Just cutting it by maybe 20%. Cut the emphasis by 20%. Make it sound a little more natural.
Okay. Does it sound boring at all? Does it sound like I'm not inflecting enough, sort of like I'm just, reading deadpan off of a script anywhere?
It's definitely not boring.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
part.
well-
That's what I'm trying to avoid.
So here's the thing: if nobody mentioned it, it's not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Trust me, we've got it. We've got a group that's really trained in on that. So
Leonard,
if it's not mentioned,
Jamie
it's not a
did
problem.
not let you get away with that.
Yeah.
Leonard
yeah,
and Jamie are
the
All right. Cool.
the one thing I'm hearing that I'd like to lose is I'm hearing a little bit of a podium there.
Okay. All right. So like, be more in the moment with the character.
Yeah, and you're one-on-one with this kid. You're talking to a kid.
Try
Right.
So let's make this. Let's make there's two changes that I still want you to make to the middle line, the second line. Start with just add at the beginning of it, and then it's easier to live in their failure
Okay.
instead of it is contracted. It's
Okay.
whenever you're ready from the top.
Okay. Look, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you got this. Don't be scared.
I don't know if you have a dog or anything, but it sounded
Yeah.
like yeah, okay. Somebody punctuated the end of your performance there. But the thing is yeah, that definitely changed things up. It sounded much smoother there. I'm going to open it up to whatever other people think. Agree, disagree? What are your thoughts?
It sounded like the second this got hit a little harder than the previous read. Just as I would, really try to focus on pulling back on the emphases, because that's not the way we talk naturally. We don't really hit the
Right.
words hard.
Yeah, right.
Just
people are
do
gonna
it!
Right. Yeah, if you're turning into Shia, something's messed up. So just think of it the way you would normally say it if you're just talking to somebody, because that's what this is it's just a conversation, and your natural inflection, we're humans are pretty good at picking that stuff up.
Right.
You don't have to have it shoved in our face so much. Be a little more subtle with it.
Okay. Okay. Let's add this in here. All right. Look, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you got this. Don't be scared.
Okay. Thoughts? James, did he apply the direction well?
The second one, the first one still felt a little bit hard, little too forward.
I
don't know
felt
as
that.
if that's something we need I don't know as if we need another read on it, but just something to keep in mind. I don't know what you're imagining in your head, if you're actually holding the recorder in your hand and showing it to her, or if you're just gesturing to it. That might be, like if you have it in your hand, with this by your side versus
That's kind of
versus, like maybe it's just sitting on the curb next to her and you're just saying with this by your side, just maybe get, changing the inflection, not so much the force that the word is coming out can maybe give the right intent.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't know as if we need another read. I know we got a lot of people to go through, or
I
maybe
give it-
maybe just that middle
Yeah,
line.
just the second line, because the rest of it, I mean, you've got a great handle on the rest of it. It's just that middle
Okay.
line.
All right, we'll do that then. You know, the people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. Something more like that.
Yeah,
I'm
that
happy with
works
it.
for me.
Yeah,
Okay.
that smoothed it out.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks for the
Thank you
feedback.
very much.
Sure.
Moving it right along, Jamie, you're up.
There you are. Hey, I'm sorry I have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable. At your age, heck, at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. Baby girl, it ain't a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing if you got this. Don't be scared. Now let's take down the patriarchy.
All right. What did you all think of that one?
What are you giving this child in exchange for her soul?
Yeah, that was very different from everything else we heard.
We actually had a note earlier in Discord that Jamie, your performance is probably the closest to the original.
There's an
Apparently.
original?
Yeah,
I've
there
never
is an
seen
original to this one.
This
What's
is
this
from the
from?
game Disco Elysium.
Oh.
Never heard
Yeah,
of
and
it.
it's apparently very, very good. But let's go ahead and talk about the performance. What did you all think?
I could see it working. It almost had like a kind of a Christmas Carol darkness to it, like the Christmas Carol written by brain fart, can't remember the guy's name.
C.S. Lewis.
Charles Dickens.
C.S.
Charles
Lewis.
I don't know. I'm throwing out names now.
Oh, okay.
Charles Dickens.
Charles Dickens. Yeah, just sort of like
M.C. Escher.
I don't know if he wrote anything. Yeah, it felt like it kind of had like a sort of a darkness to it, but not like an unfriendly darkness. It was kind of like I could see this guy being like a confidant, just like a much darker sort of mentor, or the tweaker high out of his mind who you stop by on the street and he doesn't know who you are.
Yeah, it sounded to me like an axe murderer who really likes this kid.
You see, the thing is Jamie, it sounded like to me, and tell me if I'm off. Your character is much older and wiser, and you're just trying to share some deep-seated wisdom that you understand. Is that like a
TV granddad?
TV grand? Yeah, you know what? That's exactly what I got from it. I got like this grandfatherly
something
figure.
different.
Well, it just let's go ahead and make this character still more of the experienced confidant, but let's make them younger than what you were going with the last one. Let's just see what that does.
Okay. Hey, baby. I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable and such. At your age or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. Hey, the people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. Baby girl, it ain't a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing. If you got this, don't be scared, sugar.
Yeah, I don't have any other comments on that. Does anybody have anything?
But I don't I don't know why this just came to mind, but when it's easier to live in their failure when you have this by your side, I could just imagine him pulling out a trench coat and then like holding out a gun.
Well, we progress from axe murder to guns.
Marco.
Oh my gosh.
It's easy to live in their failure when he got this by his side.
Pulls out a 22. And I'll bring my gun.
Oh man. All right. Jamie, I love your performances so much that I'm gonna have you do one more for me, except this time you're gonna be a cop.
Okay.
So this character is a police officer of some kind.
Wait, good cop or bad cop?
That's up to Jamie to decide.
Oh boy.
Hey, citizen. I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable. It's not good. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing. If you got this, don't be scared.
Yeah. All right. All right. All right. I'm good. I'm happy. I've heard all I wanted to hear.
It's like at the end of every take, you turn it into a joke. First, let's overthrow the patriarchy, and then you just
Pastryarchy.
Pastryarchy.
Yeah, I heard
Dunkin' Donuts.
patriarchy.
Okay, I'm sorry, you were clipping on my end. The
Sorry.
pastryarchy.
But
Pastryarchy.
I like snack cakes. That's why I'm in the position I'm in right now. Fat. Anyway, yeah, it's really hard to want to change any of that because again, Jamie, you have this strength of being able to not only like just select a direction you want to go in, but just stick with it, and that's shockingly rare to hear with a lot of people, and it sticks out quite notably because again, it's this strong choice that carries from beginning to end, and you just have this way of making it your own, which I think is just highly entertaining and is only going to serve you well in whatever future roles you're going to get.
Y'all have
Yeah, you had you had the three takes that stood out the most all night. So,
And they
can't
were all
argue with that.
unique. They were all unique. Like every single one of them, you had 3 different characters, and you did them all fantastically.
Put that stuffed up as it is.
Well, anyway, yeah, go ahead and blow your nose, get yourself unstuffed. We're gonna move it right along to Leonard.
Okay. Hey, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable at your age or any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing if you got this. Don't be scared.
Pacing. Pacing. Too fast.
Okay.
keep the friendliness, but you slowly insert the expletive of your choice down.
Okay.
I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie.
slow the jelly beans down.
At the end,
Say
on
jelly
the
bean.
on the don't be scared, for some reason it felt more like teasing than encouragement.
Okay.
In fact, that is a line, that is an opportunity where you can slow it down and really cement your belief in a cell. It's like, don't be scared. You got this. You're not really saying you got this, but it's kind of implied. Don't be scared.
Well, you actually are saying you got this.
Oh, yeah, it's fine.
Okay, take two. Hey, mind if I sit down? You know, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. At your age, or any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it for it. The people who built this world intended it. Blah, blah, blah. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing if you got this. Don't be scared.
All right. I got some heavy encouraging father vibes from that read. What did you all think? Did you get anything different, or do you think anything needs to change about it?
No, agreed. Encouraging father sounds
Yeah,
about right.
that's what I got.
Yeah, you gave me good daddy vibes. I like it.
Even with your
Don't
feedback,
go
Jamie, you
there.
cannot be beaten.
Don't go there. Come on. Let's elevate the filth around here, shall we?
Or enhance. I don't know. I don't know what's happening with it anymore. No, but yeah, I think like that just had a really good. Again, I hesitate to give you any other direction because you really nailed like a parental figure with this read, and I think it really fits. So I don't know if that's specifically what you were going for. That's what me and I'm assuming everybody else here got as well, and I think it absolutely worked.
Thank you.
So I'm happy with it. Thumb sideways, I guess. I don't know. All right, moving right along. Alexander, you're up.
Estelle, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you, but they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing if you got this. Don't be scared.
I was kind of hesitant at where you were going with it at the very, very beginning, but man, you really settled into your character and your emotional space as it went along. I loved the ending of it, but the beginning of it felt a little bit quick, a little bit disconnected.
Okay.
I will agree. The first couple sentences there were a little disjointed, where you were reading, and at some point you switched from reading to saying.
Yeah.
Especially at the very, very end.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Again, overall, really solid performance, but I think you could start it even more solid.
All right.
So, do you have a clear idea of what you want to do with that first line? Why you're tacking on all the end of it? It seems like you're familiar with the game, and I don't know if you're familiar specifically with the scene, and I'm not even sure if it's voice acted. I think
I
it
am
is.
loosely familiar with the game, but honestly,
Okay,
I had
okay.
such a hard time connecting with this scene specific, like this writing specifically,
Okay.
that I decided to go a completely different direction.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. But so there's a reason why you have to say at your age or at any age in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. So it's punctuated that way for to allow you to help or to at least help you make some choices on it.
Mhm.
Is that what's throwing you off? Just that whole jumbled up section right there?
I have a specific choice made for that
Okay.
section.
Okay.
Um,
So then it's not that. Okay. At least I'm hoping it's not that. What about
it may be that. Because what I have going on there is that it's a callback to an earlier conversation where I made a comment about her youth, and it became a point of contention between us. And so now being here trying to comfort her, there's actually two callbacks that I have in this. One is at your age, and then I want to correct myself, or at any age. And the other one is it's not a childish fantasy. That's because of something that I had said earlier. That I'm saying, look, I was wrong. It's not a childish fantasy. But if
No, I was actually going to say I really liked the way you approached "It is not a childish fantasy" because I got that. I got that
Okay.
you were kind of like seeding that ground, CEDING, not SEEDING. Let me just clarify there. You were sort of giving, that space. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, I admit it's not a childish fantasy. So
but maybe it didn't come through as well at the
no,
beginning.
no. You communicated that very well. That wasn't the
Okay.
problem. There was zero issues that I had with that there. In fact, I was going to praise you specifically for that choice. It's just the beginning feels fairly it, it I hesitate to say disconnected. It just feels separate from the rest of the scene.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what it is. I'm not sure if you need a different kind of lead in, maybe a longer lead in. I can't quite pinpoint it, but the thing is at some point, just like what Jamie said, at some point you started saying the words. It started becoming your particular, it flowed from your mind, and I
Okay.
really liked that. But there's just something about that opening that just doesn't feel like it's quite as connected.
I think I can improve that.
Okay, if you believe you can, I would like to hear it whenever you're ready from the top.
Okay. Hassel? I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice, feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you. They failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing, if you got this. Don't be scared.
Yeah, that change to the lead in, absolutely 100%. That fixed it.
Okay, excellent.
100%. Yeah, you were definitely whatever scene you had constructed, it sounded like you were there with Hassel.
Excellent. I'm glad.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, good stuff. Very, very much so. I would agree with that.
Thank you.
Am I loud? Am I
No, you're actually quiet.
You're great, Jamie.
Yeah.
But Jamie, you're perfect just the way you are.
We'll start that.
We wouldn't have you any other way except that we want you 3 ways every day.
Let's not let that get past the Zoom meeting. I am married. Anyway, last but not least is my turn. Look, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. At your age, at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you. But they failed. It's easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It is not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing. If you got this, don't be scared. Okay, opening it up.
Somebody was wanting a somber take. That was very somber.
Too somber?
No, I like it worked.
Okay.
But I'd like a little bit of smile there on the last line, and that's about all I really want from it.
Okay. Anything else?
It was good.
Well, let's try to end it off a little bit better this time.
Not better, just different.
Okay, let's try to end it off a little bit different this time. Hey. Look, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. At your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it to be better for you. But they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It can be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing. If you've got this, don't be scared. Okay, so did that give you a different ending? Did that fix it up a little bit?
I think it was a little bit different, and I did like how at the end it felt sort of, more hopeful. Like you're instilling hope in this girl, and it's not just, don't be scared, like Terminator.
Do not
I
be
agree that
scared.
it added hope and a bit of confidence to the ending.
Okay.
Do you mind if we can do one more?
What would you like to hear?
You're a talking dog.
Okay.
Ruh-roh.
Is now your take two. Come on.
Oh, there you are. Oh, I'm sorry you have to sit here on the ice feeling miserable. I mean, at your age, or at any age, in this weather, waiting for it to get dark. The people who built this world intended it for it to be better for you, but they failed. It is easier to live in their failure with this by your side. It's not a childish fantasy. It could be a real weapon against what's coming for you now. Nothing if you got this. Come on, don't be scared.
There's some good Mr. Peabody vibes there. I appreciate that.
That actually came out a lot like one of Brett's earlier takes.
Well, Brett was kind of going for a much more positive take on this
Yeah.
particular script. So, yeah. All right. Cool. Well, yeah. We have finally reached the end of the mic check. Everybody has had a chance to read. Thank you all for joining. Also, hey, Isaac, welcome to the Discord.
Thank
Good
you.
to have you with us.
Yeah.
It's still growing, so things can be pretty quiet, but you'll keep up to date with everything going on with the mic check. And if any of you over in Twitch would like to jump in, just !Discord. You'll get the link, and we'd love to have you. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and end the broadcasted portion of the mic check. That does not mean the meeting is over. So if you can stick around and you have questions, comments, anything like that, and you want to chat, let's go ahead and do it. Anyways, take it easy, everybody. See you next time.
Daddy.
I'm going to hop off. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Good night, Alex.
Good night.
Bye.